The hallway lights flickered overhead, casting long shadows down the narrow passage of the Black Warden, a warship built for speed and secrecy. Royce's boots clanged heavily against the metal floor, echoing through the vessel as he stormed forward. Urgency pulsing through his veins like electricity. His breath came in short bursts, the dim red glow of emergency lighting flickering as alarms blared in the background. The ship was on lockdown, and every second counted. The last report had been a warning sabotage on the ship. A ghost signal had tripped the security systems in the engine bay, and now every crew member was ordered to stay in their stations. But Royce knew better. This was no ordinary breach. He could feel the weight of the situation pressing down on him like the crushing pressure of deep space. His fingers flexed at his sides, gripping an old sidearm that felt heavier than usual, as if burdened with the responsibility of what was to come. The corridors were eerily silent, except for the distant hum of the ship's core reactors and the faint hiss of escaping steam from ruptured pipes. Somewhere down the passage he heard a soft shuffle, a noise out of place in the sterile mechanical heartbeat of the vessel. His instincts screamed at him to be ready to fire, but also to be cautious. There was no room for mistakes here, no margin for error with lives at stake. He rounded a corner and saw her moving against regulation, slipping through the shadows too fast to be a simple crew member. The ship's protocol was clear, no unauthorized personnel past this point. But the figure pressed on without hesitation or fear. As Royce advanced, the figure seemed oblivious, or perhaps defiant. He called out orders, but they fell on deaf ears. Or maybe they were just ignored intentionally. His heart pounded as he closed the distance, and without thinking lunged forward, grabbing her by the shoulders and slamming her into the cold, unforgiving metal wall. The impact echoed through, the hallway sending a shudder down his spine. His breath caught as the figure tensed and then slowly turned to face him. The dim light revealed a face he never expected to see, a face etched with both power and mystery. Her eyes locked onto his with a steady, piercing gaze that unsettled him deep down. As the red light bounced off her features, something clicked in Royce's mind, a recognition buried beneath layers of shock and disbelief. She was not just anyone, she was the Admiral in command, Nyra Voss. The very name that sent ripples through every level of command the woman thought to be missing, presumed dead, or undercover Royce's grip faltered, a flicker of hesitation sweeping through him. He had slammed an Admiral into the wall without realizing it. His voice caught in his throat, but he forced himself to speak. His words rushed out with urgency and confusion, demanding an explanation and answers. He needed to understand how she had ended up here, why she was moving like a ghost, within the ship's shadows, and most importantly, what she was hiding from everyone on this ship had orders and responsibilities. But Nyra Voss seemed to operate on a different wavelength, a level of command beyond anyone's reach. She did not respond, immediately just held his gaze as if weighing him up, deciding if he was friend or foe. Her presence filled the corridor with an unspoken tension that made the air feel thick with anticipation. Royce could sense the power radiating from her calm demeanor. It was a strength forged in battles. He could only imagine battles that had shaped the fate of entire fleets. The silence stretched between them until finally she spoke, her voice low, steady, and filled with authority. That simple command. To remove his hands was like a crack of thunder in the quiet ship. Royce obeyed, stepping back, feeling the weight of what he had done crashing down on him like a tidal wave. The alarm sirens continued to wail, but now a new danger hovered between them, the threat of misunderstanding, of mutiny, or worse. He searched her face for any sign of vulnerability or explanation, but found only the cold, hard steel of a leader who refused to be undermined. The moment held fragile, poised on the edge of chaos and control, as both of them stood frozen in the flickering red light, a battle of wills unfolding without a single shot fired. as the minutes stretched on Royce's mind, raced through possibilities, questions, and fears. He wondered what secrets this ship held, what mission had brought the Admiral back into the fold, and why had everything gone so wrong so fast? His heart hammered with adrenaline and dread, knowing that this confrontation was only the beginning of a storm that threatened to engulf them all. The hallway seemed to close in around them, walls narrowing the space, but opening wide the unknown that waited just beyond the next door. Suddenly, a faint vibration shuddered through the floor beneath their feet, a subtle reminder that the ship itself was alive, pulsing with energy and purpose. Something deep inside the Black Warden was stirring something that had been locked away and hidden from the eyes of the crew for reasons Royce could not yet understand. His gaze flicked back to Nira, who stood unwavering, her eyes now filled with an unspoken warning, a message that whatever threat they faced was far greater than sabotage or mutiny. This was a reckoning, and he was caught in the middle of it. The sirens continued to scream and distant voices called out. But for this moment, time seemed to freeze as the captain and the admiral faced each other on the brink of revelation and disaster. Royce realized that his next move could change everything. The ship was no longer just a vessel caught in the crossfire. It was a battleground for power secrets and survival, and he was at the center of it all. She stood motionless in the flickering red light, her posture rigid but commanding, as if the entire ship waited on her. Next move, Royce could feel the cold weight of authority radiating from her like an invisible force field that pressed against his very soul. Her eyes locked onto his, and in them was a mix of disappointment and something else. Something deeper, harder to place. The silence between them stretched long and heavy until her voice finally cut through the chaos, a voice calm, measured, and dangerously sure. "You will remove your hands." Captain Royce swallowed hard, feeling the words like a hammer blow to his chest. He took a cautious step back. The adrenaline that had surged moments ago now mingled with a growing sense of dread. His mind raced, trying to piece together the puzzle of how the fleet admiral Nira Voss had come to be here on the Black Warden. Moving unseen as if part of the shadows themselves, Royce's grip on reality started to fray as fragments of rumors whispered in dark corners and classified reports flickered in his memory. Nira had been missing from the official manifest, presumed dead or deep undercover on a classified mission. The implications hit him with brutal clarity. This was not a simple breach of security. This was a crisis far beyond any he had ever faced. His voice faltered as he tried to explain the alarms, the saboteur, the ghost signatures that had lit up every sensor in the ship. But Nira cut him off with a sharp gesture, her fingers slicing through the air like a blade. Her eyes darkened with fury and command, and Royce realized that this was no longer a matter of protocol, but a reckoning for failures far beyond his rank. She motioned for him to follow, and without waiting for a reply, she turned sharply down a narrow corridor leading to parts of the ship Royce had never seen before. Walls lined with unmarked panels and silent hatches that seemed to swallow the light. His heart pounded as he quickened his pace, matching her stride, his mind racing to catch up to the enigma that was Nira Voss. The corridor twisted and turned, leading deeper into the bowels of the ship, the air growing colder and thicker with every step, as if they were descending into a hidden tomb. Royce struggled to keep up as she moved with purpose that brooked no argument. Her presence filled the confined space with a tense energy that made every breath feel sharp and shallow. The distant alarms and chaos of the upper decks faded away, replaced by a heavy silence, broken only by the soft hum of hidden machinery and the faint pulse of something alive, somewhere beyond the sealed doors. Their footsteps echoed faintly as they approached a panel etched with symbols. Royce did not recognize the key code. Nira entered the sequence with practiced ease, and the heavy door slid open, revealing a chamber bathed in dim, eerie light. Inside the room, Royce's eyes widened as he took in the sight that defied everything he thought he knew about the ship. The walls were lined with strange equipment cables and screens flickering with indecipherable data. But dominating the center was a massive biocapsule, sealed tight with glowing veins pulsing beneath the glass like a living heart. The capsule emitted a low rhythmic hum that seemed to resonate with the ship itself, a strange symbiosis that sent a chill down Royce's spine. Naira stepped forward, her fingers trailing over the surface of the capsule as if greeting an old friend. Her voice dropped to a whisper as she explained that the Black Warden was more than a warship. It was a prison built to contain something ancient and dangerous, something that had been locked away from the knowledge of the fleet and perhaps even from the galaxy itself. Royce's mind reeled, trying to grasp the magnitude of the revelation. His grip tightened on his sidearm, but the weapon suddenly felt meaningless in the face of such overwhelming mystery. The Admiral's eyes met his once more, and she said with a gravity that shook him to his core, "This ship isn't just a vessel. Captain, it's a prison." And the prisoner is starting to remember. Royce swallowed hard as the hum from the capsule grew louder, filling the room with a pulse like a heartbeat. The air seemed to vibrate with anticipation and dread all at once. He realized that the danger they faced was not from external enemies or sabotage, but from the secrets buried deep within their own ship secrets that had been kept hidden for too long and were now waking with a hunger that could consume them all. Silence stretched as the capsule began to pulse brighter, casting long shadows that danced on the walls, and the distant alarms faded into a haunting background noise. As Royce stared at the glowing prison, he understood that this moment marked the beginning of a new battle, one fought not with guns or strategy, but with the fragile threads of trust and truth. The ship held many secrets, and the Admiral was the key to unlocking them. But whether that would save them or destroy them was a question that hung heavy in the cold air. Suddenly a tremor shook the chamber. The lights flickered violently, and a low growl echoed from deep within the biocapsule. The hum escalated into a roar, as if the prisoner inside was responding to their presence, awakening from a long slumber. Royce took a step back, heart pounding as the weight of the unknown crashed down on him. The Admiral's calm mask cracked for just a moment, revealing a flicker of fear before she composed herself again. Tightening, her grip on the console and whispering words he couldn't quite catch. The room shuddered once more, and the glowing veins on the capsule pulsed faster, sending ripples through the air like waves in a storm. The realization struck Royce like a thunderclap, that whatever was inside was alive not just biologically, but with something else, something alien and powerful that had been trapped and forgotten for centuries. The ship was no longer simply a prison. It was a battleground for survival on a scale he had never imagined, and the Admiral's return was the spark that could ignite it all. As the chamber grew darker, the only light coming from the pulsating capsule, Royce and Naira stood side by side, two figures bound by duty in the looming shadow of a threat that neither fully understood. Their fates intertwined in a dance of danger and revelation, with the ship itself as the silent witness to the awakening storm ahead. The heavy door slid shut behind them with a finality that seemed to seal their fate as the cold air in the chamber thickened with the weight of unspoken truths. Royce felt the full impact of the moment settling on his shoulders. The Admiral Naira Voss stood tall and unyielding beside the glowing biocapsule, but beneath her composed exterior there was a storm brewing, one that hinted at battles fought long before he stepped foot on the Black Warden. The dim lights flickered, casting eerie shadows across the walls, and the hum from the capsule reverberated through the room like a heartbeat, sinking with the tension that crackled in the air. Royce swallowed hard, his mind racing to process the impossible. The ship was no longer just a vessel, it was a cage, a vault designed to hold something ancient and powerful, hidden away from prying eyes and perhaps even from time itself. Nira turned slowly, her gaze piercing as she spoke, her voice low but steady. "We were never meant to know what lies beneath the surface, Captain. This ship carries a burden, a secret so dangerous that to reveal it could bring ruin to the fleet and everyone aboard." She paused, the weight of her words hanging heavily between them. Royce felt the weight of her stare as if she was searching for something in him, a sign that he was ready, or perhaps worthy to bear the truth. His breath hitched as he tried to grasp the enormity of what she was saying. The Admiral, who had been missing in action for years, was here now, standing before him, revealing a secret that had been buried in shadows for decades. Why now? Why return to this ghost ship that many believed was lost to time and treachery? Royce asked the questions that clawed at his mind. But Nira's expression darkened, and her silence was answer enough. She began to pace slowly, tracing, her fingers along the edges of the console that controlled the capsule, as if drawing strength from its presence. The hum grew louder, pulsing with an urgency that set Royce's nerves on edge. His eyes darted to the blinking readouts, and strange symbols that defied his understanding. A warning flashed briefly on the screen, something about containment failure or breach. But before he could speak, Nira cut him off, her voice sharp with authority. "This is not a failure, it is a beginning." Royce's heart thundered in his chest as he realized the truth. The prisoner in the capsule was waking after centuries of slumber, its presence stirring something deep within the ship that was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. She turned abruptly to face him, her eyes burning with a fierce determination. "We cannot allow this to happen, not without understanding the consequences. The fleet must be warned, but only if we survive long enough to send the message." The atmosphere in the room shifted as a low vibration pulsed through the floor. The ship itself seemed to respond to the awakening, forcing Royce and Nira to steady themselves against the cold metal walls. Outside, the distant echoes of chaos filtered in the faint sounds of alarms and hurried footsteps. But in this chamber, time seemed to slow. The ship was alive and aware, and it was pulling them into a conflict that transcended their comprehension. Nira's voice softened for a moment as she shared fragments of a past hidden from the galaxy. The Black Warden was more than a ship. It was a key. A prison built during a war long forgotten to contain an entity whose power defied logic and threatened to unravel reality itself. The biocapsule held the last remnant of that war, a being whose awakening could change everything and destroy much more. Royce felt the gravity of her words, settling like a shadow across his soul. He asked her how she knew all this and why she had been missing, why the fleet had been kept in the dark. Nira's eyes flashed with a mixture of pain and resolve. "I was chosen to guard this secret, to make sure it never fell into the wrong hands. I went deep undercover, sacrificing everything to keep watch from the shadows. But now, the line between guardian and prisoner is blurring, and the enemy is not just outside but within our own ranks." Royce felt a cold knot tighten in his stomach as he realized the ship itself might be compromised. He scanned the room again, searching for any sign of sabotage or intrusion, but found only the glowing capsule and the enigmatic figure of the Admiral, who was now the only hope for stopping the nightmare that was unfolding. The responsibility weighed heavy as he stepped closer to the console, trying to decipher the alien language that flickered across the screen. Suddenly, a sharp pulse shot through the capsule, sending a wave of energy that made the lights flicker violently and the hum crescendo into a roar. The walls trembled as if reacting. To the prisoner's stirring awakening, Royce grabbed Nira's arm, steadying himself as the chamber seemed to come alive with a power beyond comprehension. She met his gaze, her expression a blend of fear and determination. "The time for secrets is over, Captain. This ship will reveal its true purpose, and we must be ready." Just then, a burst of static crackled from the comm system. The voice on the other end distorted and frantic, calling for immediate backup in the engine bay. A new threat was emerging, and the Black Warden was on the brink of collapse. Royce realized that the ship's sabotage was no accident, but part of a larger plan to unleash the entity trapped inside, and the Admiral's return was the last line of defense between salvation and destruction. The two of them exchanged a glance, filled with unspoken understanding that their fates were intertwined more deeply than either had imagined. The battle ahead would test every ounce of their courage and loyalty as the secrets of the past collided with the dangers of the present. Royce knew that failure was not an option, and yet the question remained, what price would they pay to keep the prisoner contained, and could they survive the awakening storm within the heart of the Black Warden? The hum of the capsule pulsed, steadily growing stronger, and the room seemed to darken as shadows crept along the walls like living things. Royce clenched his fists, feeling the cold metal of his sidearm, but also the weight of helplessness. The line between friend and foe was blurring. The enemy was no longer just an intruder, but something ancient and alive, and the only way forward was to face the darkness head-on, with the Admiral leading the way into the unknown. Chamber grew darker as the biocapsule pulsed with an almost hypnotic rhythm, casting eerie patterns of light and shadow on the cold metal walls. Royce could feel the weight of the moment crushing down on him like the gravity of a dying star. The ship itself seemed to breathe with a life of its own, responding to the awakening prisoner deep within its core. His eyes flicked nervously between the glowing veins of the capsule and the resolute figure of Admiral Nyra Voss, who stood unwavering. Her expression a mask of calm determination, yet beneath that calm, Royce sensed the storm that threatened to break loose. Without warning, the hum from the capsule intensified, exploding into a roar that shook the very foundations of the chamber. The metal floor vibrated beneath their feet, and the lights flickered violently, casting the room into a chaotic dance of shadows. The air grew thick, heavy, as if charged with electricity, and Royce struggled to catch his breath. The prisoner was stirring, waking from a long-forgotten slumber, and with it a wave of energy that threatened to unravel everything they knew. Nyra stepped forward, her hand reaching out as if to soothe or control the ancient force trapped inside the glass prison. Her voice was steady but carried an edge of urgency. "This is not just a prisoner, Captain. It is the key to everything. The reason we were sent here, the burden we carry, and the danger we face together."